You've seen the schedule. So let's not waste each other's time here, because we don't have a lot of time doing the hard stuff that we need to do to get to where we want to go. This is about winning. It's about winning the world championship, period.
It's time for another edition of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy from inside the Globe Life studio here at the Star in Frisco. Bill Jones along with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy as the Cowboys get set to take on the Washington football team. A noon kickoff Dallas time on Sunday. And first off, welcome back, Coach. We missed you last week, and I know that had to be the toughest 10 days of your coaching career, being away from this place, right?
Yeah, definitely. Not being here in the middle of it was difficult, but just glad to be back and back to be in the regularity of a normal preparation week and get ready for Washington.
And so many people back this week. We'll get into that in just a moment. But this is a big week. Of course, you close the season with 4 of your last 5 games against division rivals, playing against a Washington team that is playing very well right now, having won 4 in a row.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is division time. It's December football. Obviously we have Washington 2 out of the next 3 weeks. And obviously going east too. I think any time the schedule comes out, you look at those 3 East Coast games, and and we got them. We have 3 of those in the next 5 weeks. So big contest. I think the urgency of us coming off of this bye weekend, as we refer to it, is definitely very high. We're getting some players back. Trying to get the continuity of getting these guys to play together that haven't been on the field together in a while. So. It's been a good week. It's been a busy week. And once again, we'll be excited to kick it off 1 o'clock Eastern in Washington.
Well, and just the continuity of being back on the practice field, too. The unique schedule, of course, that you go through every year in late November. But you've got, let's look at your offensive line. You've got everybody available this week for the first time this season.
Yeah, definitely. And with that's important because it gives you flexibility to do some other things, which we'll take advantage of. But we got to get back to winning up front, really on both sides of the ball. So that's really been a big message for us, the focal point as far as putting the plans together, and it definitely lays up with who we're playing. I mean, this Washington football team. You look at both of their offensive line or defensive line. This the game that goes on in the trenches will really factor in the outcome.
And people talk about these December games too, and to be able to play with physicality, run game, and so forth. What are you seeing things as far as your run game goes as you enter this final 5-game stretch of the season?
Really comes down to the details. We just got to continue to stay after it. Make sure we get the looks, we're executing. Really, December football execution is everything. That's what it's at its highest. I think teams establish who you are conceptually as far as schematically how you want to attack the game, get in and out of concepts, families of concepts, but just really, the details up front, staying after it, getting plays, particularly on offense, into the extended play mode. Washington does a nice job in their offensive extended plays, so we're actually have done a much better job the last 6 weeks defensively, against the extended play. So just all those characteristics that go into winning football, and we're just staying focused on it.
Well, and your weapons on offense are back now, and that sequence in the first half where Amari Cooper makes his presence known with a 41-yard catch, CD with a 33-yard run, and then the great catch by Michael Gallup. It's great having those guys back together again.
Oh, definitely, because every single one of them can make a big play on any given play. So, but really to get the continuity back involved, where Dak's in rhythm, playing with the same people, time clocks. You're always working to keep those as tight as possible. But yeah, it's definitely when you have guys, a number of players that we do, when you put the ball in their hands, create big plays. Obviously, big plays equals points.
All right, we're just getting started on this edition of the Mike McCarthy Show. Up next, it's David Moore of the Dallas Morning News.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, is brought to you by AT&T, Ford, built for Texas, built for you. The University of North Texas, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. It's Miller time. And by Reliant, an NRG company. This segment is brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
We're just really focused on self-improvement and winning. We got to do whatever we got to do to win the game. But these guys are very accountable. The work ethic of our football team, the whole space is very high. They're very accountable. We know what people think of us. We love that. We're comfortable who we are, where we are. But I'm excited about what's in front of us because we're going to win this game. I'm confident in that, and just the prep that's going into it. But more importantly, we want to improve too along the way. So I think that's all part about what the challenge of December football gives you.
What do people are going to win this game? I'm confident of that. Do you think that could be taken as bulletin board material?
I mean, what am I supposed to say? Yeah, I fully expect to win every game I've ever competed in. I mean, that's what sports is all about. That's what the NFL. Trust me, I understand how hard it is. They're working hard. We're working hard. But yeah, we're clearly planning on going to Washington to win the game. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Welcome back to the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Bill Jones now joined by David Moore of the Dallas Morning News, SportsDayDFW.com. We will win the ball game. That reminds me of Jimmy Johnson before the NFC Championship game in 1993, what the coach said at his press conference back on Thursday.
Yeah, Mike's gone for 10 days in a self-imposed exile from COVID, and he comes back firing. Just dropped. It was a 24-minute press conference, about 15 minutes in, while answering another question. He casually yet confidently drops that they're going to win the game, and he's very confident in it. And, you mentioned Jimmy Johnson. That was back in '94 going into the NFC Championship game. What Mike did was not nearly as brash as what Jimmy did, because he didn't follow it up. Yeah.
He didn't say you could put it in 3-inch headlines.
Yeah. No, but while it wasn't as brash, I believe it was every bit as calculated. You look at the schedule, they're about to play Washington twice in 3 weeks. 4 of the final games of the regular season are division games. He's constantly talking about you have to be a good December football team. That defines who you are. I think he was sending his players a clear message going into this stretch of what he expects to them. And this is about reclaiming some of that swagger that's eroded over these last 3-4 weeks, I believe.
All right, if you're going to be a good December football team, especially playing on the road, outdoor environment this week, Washington, Meadowlands next week, in the season at Philadelphia, you better be able to run the football. Can this team run the football?
You always have been, right? And that is something that's been the greatest level of erosion, I think, on where this offense is from where it was to start the season in the run game. I think it's going to be very interesting in Washington because if you remember, you go back to the Tampa Bay game, the Cowboys' game plan was, well, it's going to be difficult to run on them, so let's just throw and we'll be very selective with it. You could take that same approach with Washington, but let's flash back to that New Orleans game. They needed to do a better job of running the ball in the fourth quarter to when they had a lead, and that's why you need the run game. They have to commit to it. They have to be better at it.
Are their running backs healthy enough?
Well, and this is the question, and I found it interesting. Everyone for weeks has been talking about it's very clear Ezekiel Elliott isn't right physically. And people are talking, how do you manage him the rest of the regular season to be ready for the postseason? In my mind, it's always been about managing Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. Tony Pollard's never been a guy who's gotten 18 to 20, 22 carries a game. And now going into this game, he's dealing with a foot issue, plantar fasciitis. So you want to keep a comparable stretch. But it's not as easy as saying flip the script. Let's give Tony Pollard the carries that we're going to Elliott and also flip it. It is maybe get Pollard a few more, but also keep Elliott in a range, and let's have both of these guys fresh going into the postseason.
Don't know if the Cowboys will win the game, but David Moore won the segment of the Mike McCarthy Show, as he always does each week. Right, David?
Sure.
All right, we continue with more of the Mike McCarthy Show in just a moment with a trip to the film room.
This segment was brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage. This segment is brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Bill Jones now joined by Will McClay as we are in the film room breaking down this Washington football team. Let's start on offense. How about that running back, Antonio Gibson?
Antonio Gibson. He's the Washington football team's version of Tony Pollard, except for he's 6'3", 239 pounds. Both of them played receiver in college, and both of them are playing running back now. We're going to take a look at him here. They're going to run the wide zone, but we're going to look at his vision and burst, all right? The run's going to this side. He's going to see it, and it's the patience. You stretch the defense, and he feels the linebacker running. He sees the gap, and then he explodes through it. And at 239 pounds, second level, hard to bring down.
He gets through that hole very quickly.
All right, now we're going to take a look at him here. And now I'm going to talk about his instincts as a guy who played receiver and running back, but his instincts to be able to see and feel the hole. The run is supposed to go to this side. You'll see the drawing here. All right, they're going to go down, down, kick out. All right, they go motion. Now, he's supposed to go there, but his feet, I'll run it back one time real quick. His feet in the hole make the linebacker hold, and then he's able to get through the hole. But that's patience and vision there.
It helps when you got number 75 at right guard for them, too. They're unbeaten since he returned to the line 4 games ago. All right, how about that outside speed?
Outside speed. Here's 4th and 1. Conventionally, you think 4th and 1, you're going to run the ball inside. No, they're going to trust him in their blocking scheme. They rely on the run. They're going to get him outside on the perimeter run on 4th and 1. He's able to get the edge sealed, and then you want to look at his speed and turning that into an explosive play.
All right. They like Alabama guys, and one of those guys is Jonathan Allen.
Yes, Jonathan Allen. They got a lot of first-round picks on the defensive line, but he is the guy. He's the linchpin. All right, we're going to look at him here in the run game. All right, they're going to try and run to his side. He's going to take the blocker, put him in the hole, and to be able to come off. Here, this is like gap and a half. Sees him. Now he stops the run play. Now now the next play, he is the leading sacker here. He's got 6 sacks. Unique look. They've got this alignment out here. They're inviting the quarterback to run in the middle. All right, they're not bringing any extra pressure. The quarterback's getting ready to step up. He beats his guy with quick arm over move and then be able to turn the corner and sack the quarterback. It's huge for a defensive tackle.
All right, you can see several examples why he was a first-round draft pick, and here's another one.
All right, here's another one. They got 5 down. They got 5 blockers. Looking for somebody to win a one-on-one. Counting on 93 winning the one-on-one. He's got going against an all-pro guard. He takes him and he forklifts him back to the quarterback. We'll see it here. He's going to try a hump move. It doesn't work. Transition right into power. Pushes him into the quarterback, and there's an interception.
And just some examples of what the Cowboys can expect against Washington on both offense and defense. Thank you very much, Will McClay. Here's what the Cowboys are saying this week about this opponent.
Yeah, I think it's just important for me to extend plays when it's time, and then just make sure, as I said, receivers are on the same page, whether it's scramble drill or whether it's just a movement outside of the pocket, to make sure that we get all these things cleaned up.
When I do get my 10, 15 snaps at rushing, I got to make the most of them and get to the quarterback. And, I mean, I've been doing it all year, so just got to maximize my opportunity and get home.
Welcome back to the film room. I'm Isaiah Stanback, and we are going to break down exactly why the Washington football team has been so successful on the ground. Last year, Antonio Gibson had, in both the games against the Dallas Cowboys, had 243 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. Over the past 6 games, these guys have been averaging over 140 yards per game. This is something we can't allow, but let's see exactly why they are doing so well. You guys will see right here, they do a great job of having misdirection. You're going to see the receiver come in motion over here, which brings this defensive back all the way across the formation. They do a great job of getting your eyes over here. You'll see they'll keep this backside linebacker free over here. They want to cut this field in half. So they're going to keep him on the backside with the flow of the offensive line. Everybody's going to come down. Down, 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 down. Again, leaving one man for the pulling tight end. He's going to come up here and seal off this block right here, giving Antonio Gibson a 2-way go. He has an option to hit this hole or hit this hole. The issue that they have, most teams have whenever they're facing against this team, is this linebacker right here has a delay. He has some kind of hitch in his giddy up, and that allows you to not only not get to the play, but it gives him this free run right up here to now working on the safety. The Dallas Cowboys have to do a great job of being aggressive, coming downhill, not hesitating, and simply reacting, being aggressive, and stopping these guys at the line of scrimmage. If they can do that, if they can hold the Washington football team to under 100 yards, we can expect a Dallas Cowboys victory.
Welcome back to the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, here inside the Globe Life studio at the Star in Frisco. The coach rejoins us now. Let's take an up-close look at this Washington football team, starting on offense with Taylor Heineke, who's been playing very well. They've got a 4-game win streak going on right now, and Heineke is a guy who, during this stretch, completing 77% of his passes, and he's taking care of the football.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you love the way he plays. I mean, he does a really good job managing their offense. You know, as far as knowing where the completions are. You know, I think the RPO game he's really excelled at. But you know, also, I mean, his ability to come up through the A and B gaps, escape, and make plays with his feet. So he definitely is a in the pocket, out of the pocket player. Playing at a high level. You know, I think the numbers speak for themselves. But you know, we got to take the ball away, and that's definitely something that they've done a great job of. You can see particularly their time of possession, the long drives. They've finished, you know, a number of games here down the stretch with long drives. So this is a big challenge for our defense.
Yeah, I think their time of possession is like second in the league. All right, talk about takeaways. Got 4 picks last week against New Orleans. It does seem like it's contagious at times. 19 on the season now.
Well, definitely, and our guys do a phenomenal job. I mean, when the ball's in the air, it's you know, we believe we're coming down with it, and I think it just speaks to our whole secondary, just the way they attack the football. You know, obviously the pass rush and the pressure that we're getting up front plays into that. But you know, that's a big part of our identity. I mean, we put the time with the team fundamentals. It's something that I know everybody emphasizes it, but we put a extraordinary amount of time into the team fundamentals, and I think our guys do a phenomenal job with it.
Talk about pressure on the quarterback. You're getting guys back on the defensive line, but let's talk Micah Parsons. And now you're 12 games into this now. Okay, that's a complete college regular season. Micah Parsons seemed like he was a sophomore in this league when he came into the league, as far as his knowledge and just his instincts and so forth. He, from a mental standpoint, the different things that he has to do on this defense, I don't know if it's talked enough about what his football IQ is like.
Oh, definitely. I think Micah is really just starting to find his groove as far as the mental preparation part of it. I think if you look at the way his season has gone, the number of things that we've asked him to do. I mean, he was calling the defense at one point, so you know, the ability to play off the ball, on the ball. So, and I think if you just look at his regiment of how he prepares each week, you know, Tuesday night, you know, he's in the office with Dan Quinn and George Edwards, and you know, he's getting a preliminary game plan. So I think he's just starting to find his groove as far as, you know, all the little things that every young player goes through to get ready each week, and obviously, I mean, he's getting it done on the field at a very high level. But you know, his ability to process and for us to utilize, you know, him to be able to line up in different spots is a big key for us. But you know, I'm been very impressed with the maturation process of Micah.
And Washington running back Antonio Gibson, he's a guy that over the last 4 games he's averaging 27 touches a game.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're definitely a focal point. I mean, they're giving it to him, and I mean, and obviously, I think their run game, just, you know, from a starting point, is a key to how they want to play. I mean, you look at the way they're controlling the clock, the way they're controlling the down and distance, you know, staying in favorable down and distance. But you know, Gibson is, you know, he can do it from the backfield. He's also an exceptional player coming out of the backfield as far as his receiving skills.
All right, we wrap up this edition of the Mike McCarthy Show in just a moment. Final minute or so of the Mike McCarthy Show as we get you set for the Cowboys and Washington. Noon kickoff Dallas time, 1 o'clock kickoff Eastern time, and it is a big one as the Cowboys try to extend their lead in the NFC East. Let's talk a little bit the unsung stars this week. I'm going with the coaching staff. You obviously had the positive COVID test. You had others on your coaching staff who were out against New Orleans last week. Everybody's got to pull on the rope. It's position flex on that coaching staff, right?
Definitely. I mean, you got to start with the coordinators, you know, just to keep everything in sync as far as job responsibility and making sure everything was, you know, defined of what we needed to get done. So, you know, Dan Kellen and John did a phenomenal job there. You know, Rob Davis really did an excellent job with the administrative part of it. But I mean, when you look at Lunda Wells and you know, Chase Hazlitt and their opportunity to help on the offensive line and Chase in the tight end room. So, you know, and I love our pit crew, you know, our young guys that just step up at every turn. So I think it definitely is a reflection of a great job by the coaching staff and the support staff. So, you know, just like anything, you know, you go through so many things over the course of the year, and the ability to keep it the same, because the consistency is so important, because the players need the resources. They need the things to make sure that they're prepared for each and every week. And I thought our guys did a great job with that and knocked it out of the park in New Orleans.
All right, but we got everybody back pretty much this week against Washington. Good luck on Sunday. We appreciate all of you joining us here for the Mike McCarthy Show, and we will see you again next week when the Cowboys head to the Meadowlands to take on the New York Giants.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, was brought to you by Ford. Built for Texas, built for you. Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. It's Miller time. GEICO, switch today and see all the ways you could save. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl.